And let's get started. A few weeks ago, the Parliament of St. Maarten met in plenary session to discuss the IMF criticism of the CFT. The IMF at the time had said that the CFT measures that they intend to put on Curacao, or they want to put on Curacao, will be counterproductive and do just the opposite and send the country further into a financial spiral. They also said at the time that it seems as if the CFT is not an independent body, meaning that they're doing what they're told, they're taking orders from elsewhere. I don't know why that is so surprising, but anyway, that is what was said. Well, the IMF is at this again. The IMF is questioning how our central bank and our government came by an inflation rate of less than 1%. So inflation rate, it says about 0.6%. One of the things that we lack here in St. Maarten is data for planning. So you get facts and figures. There must be a body that could give you the facts and figures. We have the bureau that gives stats, the statistical bureau, but we don't get good figures and good information to plan ahead on what is needed, what is not needed, and not to, from knee-jerk reactions, put moratoriums that says nothing, that you put moratorium on something, you stop gambling boots from going up, but those that are already up illegal, you let them stay and just charge them a fee. So there's no rhyme or reason to the way we're running anything. There's no method in place. For instance, if you would have the data you need, you would understand if we have a need for more casinos in St. Maarten. That is important because, we have so many of these so-called standalone, something that we created, because formerly we only had hotels. To get a casino, you had to have a hotel with a certain amount of rooms. I don't even think that should hold water anymore, because if you have standalones, they don't have no rooms. So why are you exacting on the amount of rooms someone will have to get a casino license? That in itself makes no sense. The number games. Everybody now is getting a license to hold a number games, and you put to put a moratorium on that. Also, you have to determine, when is enough and what is it doing? How is it feeding this economy? How is it doing with them giving jobs? We don't have the information. We're just operating, well, somebody's a good friend or somebody's a good political ally or a good supporter. We give them a license, we let them operate. That's, so it's hard for us to figure out what is happening in the economy. How do we know when we need more schools? First, what we do know is that we have made a mistake, and as a country of people, we need to take responsibility for that. We have put all of the larger schools, secondary schools, in one little nook up in the corner there in South Rewards and Peters area. And we see not only the traffic jams that flows from that, because it was poor planning. We never looked at what the impact would be. So we have thousands of children in one area. Everybody, because of the different areas they live in and stuff like that, many of the parents choose to bring their kids to school themselves and create a lot of backup in traffic. Plus the amount of fights we have in the area, that was because of our planning and because not having the data, the figures and stuff to show what was necessary. This is how we get in those things. We also know there's a dire need for affordable and social housing in St. Maarten. But on what do we base how many and where and stuff? After 95, the Belvedere came. A project that I didn't like too much because at the time, first of all, I think it looks like a barrack somewhere in Sweden that I saw. And secondly, I thought the land could have been used much more better to build better housing. It was prime property that could have been, we could have built better things for our people. Not only that, social housing, they declared it, but affordable, I don't know for whom. If you live in a society where the minimum wage is just about 1,700 guilders, just in the area of 17, so 16 and a bit, and your rent is 900, I don't know how that is affordable, because it means that you believe at 800 to do all the other things that is needed in a household, pay GB, pay cable, pay electricity, buy food. So affordable isn't all that affordable anymore. But on what we're basing, the point is, while these things are necessary, what are we basing our information on? Because if we see that in the last 2 years, even after the hurricane, the St. Martin Housing Foundation was busy going to the court off and on to have people expelled from their buildings. So it means the people can't meet the rent. They can't meet their monthly rent because of the financial situation. So then we have to get some kind of information to determine what is and what is not affordable, and affordable to who. There are people from all walks of life living in the Belvedere area, from different professions. So it's not only the street digger who can't afford it. There are people, civil servants employed by government, that are having the same problems. So we have to come up with a better idea, better solution to deal with affordable housing. And it would be nice if you could spread them over the different districts, so you don't construct the slum areas in the country. Because if you put a mass amount of people in one area, it's going to become a slum, and it's going to become a problematic area in terms of fights, crimes, and those things. The other thing we have looked at but have done very poorly in managing it is the road project. We have, way back in the 90s, decided what roads and connecting roads we would need to increase the flow of traffic, try to reduce the amount of time spent in traffic jams. We had link 1, link 2, link 6, all up to link 6, link 7. And all of them were to be in different parts. We know that 1 is out already, because 1 had to pass here in the Amelia Wilson estate, would have been on the way to put a zip line and stuff. So I guess that's out now. And then we have another link 6 up at South Reward area that was supposed to go over on the other side to Dutch Quarter. And yeah, that's, but we have planned these things, and somehow they're never given meaning. We take, in those planning also came the ring road. The ring road was supposed to be a road around Phillipsburg that would have connections branching out with a roundabout to get people out of the flow. People going in one direction will be able to pull out and go that way without being backed up so long. Well, we see what has happened to the ring road now. There's hardly any space left to build a road. Various governments from all parties who have formed government after the many collapses have given away the ring road land to all who they thought merited it or needed it. But the initial intention of the ring road is now disappeared. So how do we do with our traffic situation now? I've heard some nice, interesting things, you know. We have to stop importing cars. I don't know how you do that in a democratic country, some democracy. You can't tell a guy what to buy and how to buy. So we're left stuck with that because our lack of planning or lack of political will gets us where we are. Another thing we need to really challenge, and we need information on, is we just saw with the Electoral Council and the census announcing how many voters there are, just over 23,000. And if we just do a little interpolation here, usually a third of the population could vote. So we will say that St. Martin has about close to 90,000 people. That's St. Martin, that would be 90,000 people. So we need to determine, that's why we need facts and figures, what part of this population is undocumented, which part is illegal on this island. We have no idea. There was a time there was a census that made an error. They claimed they made an error of 30,000 people. How do you make an error of 30,000 people in a small 16 square mile island? But these things happen here. There are many illegal construction companies, among them Chinese and Indian, make construction companies that are competing in this market for jobs, while one of the reasons for the Dutch exacting that they get border control was to eliminate the possibility that outsiders come and rig money from the reconstruction. Not that there's money to rig, because we ourselves are not getting nothing is being spent. But we need to know who these companies are, the people they're employing, are they paying SZV and all those things. And we also need to know on what legal basis they have contracts. We know that local people having a hard time going to the bank and opening an account. So how are these people getting an account? Are we making different rules for the locals and different rules for the other? Those are things we need to know. And to know those things, we have got to have the information. And we need somebody to provide that information so that government in its planning could take knowledgeable decisions. The other thing we need to know, what is the size of the workforce? We've heard it's about 19,000. Maybe possible, but based on what? What do we base it on? Because if we see most of the people working in the hotels right now are non-belongers. Most of the school dropouts and what have you, and those people on the block are young St. Martiners who are not in the workforce. So what is the workforce? And then, of course, what's they said the unemployment is about 9.2%. That may be so, but what is it among the young people, and what are we doing with it? We don't have adequate information to take informed decision as a government in dealing with these things. It would be nice going into another election if one of the parties could tell you what this is and what actions they intend to take. Let's look at the, we hear a lot of talk about the construction of the new hospital and about a general health insurance and all those things sound nice. But what is the health of the country? We know we spent in the last few years a yearly almost 29 million on referrals to Santo Domingo, Colombia, Cayman Islands, sometimes to Curacao. We spend a lot of money on referrals. So what's the state of the health of the country, and what is the state of health professionals? I mean, what services do we provide and what we have to take overseas? We don't have the information really. This country, we have ad hoc information at the best. Another important thing, because the Parliament itself has spoken numerous times of us not having the skills we need to fit into the economy. So what is the state of the education in the country? Who's in charge? We funded, the taxpayer funded, we even fund the so-called private schools. So what is our input in the curriculum to make sure we have the skills that we need and we don't have to continue after some 30 years or more boasting about putting 30% in education? We don't have to continue depending on outsiders to build our country. You know, another thing we have been talking about is the Mother Bay inquiry, and I want to refer back to something that is very prevalent on social media. In St. Martin, every time something comes up and government is asked to foot the bill for something, or something needs to be done for the country, we equate it with how many roofs it can buy. The inquiry on Mother Bay, which most people think is a good thing, but there are still the critics out there and those who think you can do better with the money, like putting roofs. And while I know that roofs are necessary, we have been lied to about the trust fund and how we're going to get back the roofs and help people, and now we as the victims begin to blame each other also. We have heard the same thing with the flag, the big St. Martin flag on Colby Hill. It was a project for 3 flags, but St. Martin people took that way out and went after each other on the flag, and today they're most proud of it. I see most of them down there taking pictures on a Saturday and Monday. Sunday and Monday. But it's the things we get into, the narratives we let ourselves get into for these kind of things. So our government, if that is the way you want to judge it, then we have to judge overall the things we invest money in, like the regatta, carnival, investment in bringing in over 300,000 to highlight foreign sport athletes, international athletes here, while the local athletes get nothing from it. So we got to, we have to really determine where we go from here. But it's most important that the Bureau of Statistics or whatever other bureau be able to give figures, so facts and figures, the data you need to be able to take decisions, to be able to plan further. Because right now, not much is happening. I don't foresee much happening with this so-called trust fund. I see it was a rules from the beginning. The Dutch got what they want out of it. The World Bank is bringing in consultants left and right. But the roofs, the roads, the airport, the dump, but these things are not moving. And they're not moving because the government had no idea where they're going. They depended on the World Bank and the Dutch to tell them, you know, the next move. And that has been a program doomed to fail. Anyway, yesterday we were doing the parliamentary inquiry on Mullet Bay. We had a few speakers on yesterday. We had a chair, I think, and we had a presenter. And we're going to go back to Parliament today, go back to Parliament now, and we're going to come back up with the inquiry. And I think the next speaker in Parliament is none other than Member of Parliament Claude Chacho Peterson. So give us an ear and we'll talk about it as we go along.
Good afternoon to the Griffey and to all my colleagues here today. Good afternoon to those following by all forms of media, and good afternoon to MP Bryson. Mr. Chair, when it comes to the Mullet Bay inquiry, I think this has definitely become something a big topic in the community, and I think even from that perspective, I would say that's a positive. I mean, I am definitely one over the years have discussed a lot about Mullet Bay and done a lot of research as well. But I must say that from that perspective, I can support this inquiry. However, Mr. Chair, the issue I have with some of it is the fact that in the inquiry, it pretty much, and this is what lives out in the community now, where the inquiry is being taken as the step that Parliament is going to take to get back the Mullet Bay land from the owner, Mr. Ansari. I think that is definitely a misleading of the population in many ways. I don't believe that an inquiry can actually already profess what is the outcome of the inquiry before you actually have the investigation. So from that basis, I am concerned about that. I am also concerned, I heard earlier discussions about the rocks being placed. I mean, as one that grew up basically around Mullet Bay. I played tennis with the general manager, Mr. Al Sultani's daughter, and in Mullet Bay.
Okay, so we apologize. We did Mr. Chacho yesterday. We already commented on that, so we would like to go to another parliamentarian because it's quite lengthy, and we want you to hear all of the interventions and see your government working for you, your elected officials working for you. So we are ready, queued up another member. So we let you hear another member of Parliament today. So while my engineer is busy pulling up the following speaker, we know now what a parliamentary inquiry is about. We know of the delays or the 24 years stagnation of anything happening at Mullet Bay. We also know that the properties were being used by the operator owner as collateral in other ventures not on this island. And thanks to the intervention of the Central Bank of Curacao, St. Martin. We got certain information. I think we move timely to try and secure our little bit of that property. And hopefully, if all goes the way we planned it, or the way we would hope it, we will be able to use that property to attract some brand name properties to do business in our country and provide so much needed jobs we need in this country to reduce the high unemployment, but more importantly, to try and get most of these young people who are now sitting down on the block to get into some gainful employ. So we hope you pay attention. We want you to listen to what's happening. We hope we come out of this, with flying colors. Once everybody have done their utmost best and really tried to do something in the interest of St. Martin, I think that is what all you can ask for from the people you elect. And I think right now they're on a good track. I think the very proposal was timely, and from the backing I see they have gotten in Parliament, I think Parliament is working for St. Martin right now. So we're ready with the next speaker, so do give us an ear.
Good afternoon to all. Mr. Chairman, very brief. I'm going to use my time now not to necessarily ask any questions, but because I have a feeling we only have a minute to motivate, and that might not be enough for me, I wanted to just shed some, again, it's not necessarily questions, but some statements made through you to the MP. Earlier today we had requests for and voted on an interpellation. And it is my opinion that before getting to an inquiry, I think that as a parliament, one of the things we should do is, if we are going to go there, and this is the first time both of them are being executed and we are going to learn as we go, is that maybe the route should have been to go to have an interpellation of the Mullet Bay before going straight to an inquiry. And I only say that because the inquiry costs money. There's a financial aspect to the inquiry that is going to affect the country financially. However, I think that for many decades now, the Mullet Bay issue has been there and no one has taken the initiative, so to speak, to do anything about it. So I'm not necessarily saying that it's a bad thing, and I will ultimately support it, because you also, the other part of it is that the people don't necessarily completely understand the difference. And so it was actually quite timing that we had the interpellation today right before the inquiry, because indeed now this is the way it should have gone, and the people would get to experience or understand the two separate things, because bringing in the necessary ministers to do the due diligence and force them to do an investigation to bring answers for us, and then at the point where we cannot get any more information from them, or they refuse to give the information to us that is necessary, then we go to the step of an inquiry. But like I said, that process, for the first time, both has been executed now, and so in the future, hopefully, members of Parliament will use the interpellation before going straight to an inquiry. Because now the next thing is, and I think that we actually headed in a good direction, that we can deal with some of the things that are waiting forever before we could get proper answers or figure out why things are taking so long. For example, the dump and different things like that, you know. Parliament has the authority to exercise these two different types of ways of forcing ministers to give us information, because as we saw yesterday, you can have, and other times during other meetings, you can have members of Parliament asking questions and just can't get answers, get satisfactory answers, because the the ministers can play around the answers. And so for that reason, I think it is good that we are now exercising the rights that we do as Parliament, so we are definitely headed in the right direction. The next thing that I want to bring through you, Mr. Chairman, to the MP is the execution. Now, I have never investigated or attempted to do an inquiry, so I am not going to say whether this was done right or wrong, but what I do realize is that the budget for this inquiry that was set literally have line items on things and how much should be allotted to where and the like and so on. And while that's probably the proper way to do it, I think that it is important that through you, Mr. Chair, the MP, I don't know what role the MP now plays into who gets what on that list, you know, the people that are going to be doing, I'm sorry, the people that are going to be doing the different tasks that is within the budget for it. You know, I would like to, you know, not necessarily caution, but it is important that we pay close attention to these things, because that too can open another can of worms. If, for example, you know, it is not necessarily given to put to bid, but we have it addressed to give to particular people and so on, you know. Again, these are things that can spiral out of control. And so, like I said, this is not something that I am not going to support, because I do believe that if what is being presented by the MP is factual, that there are some things that needs to be answered by, be it the property owners or government. Another one of the things I wanted to mention is and it was briefly spoken about the last time by MP Westcott, and then reiterated by MP Jacobs, you know, that some of the things in this inquiry outlined are things that are already provided and are taken up in our laws. So, you know, are we going to, will there be a process of elimination to take out some of those things? Maybe by taking out some of those things, it can actually save some of the money that has been budgeted for this project, for the inquiry period. So again, maybe that's my only question. So for those things, like for example, access to the beach is already in the law. Also, the beach is a public space. That's already in the law. All of these things are questions within the inquiry that we already have. You know, if there are more like that, will will there be a process of elimination to avoid certain things? The next thing is, I think that a campaign should be set up so that the people can truly understand, you know, it's not just the Mullet Bay situation that we're dealing with, you know, as far as inquiries is concerned. I think they need to understand the difference between the inquiry and the interpellation, so that they are informed and understand that, for example, me, I'm not knocking down either of them. I'm just saying, for the sake of money and saving the country money, you know, if we can go to them in a different manner, so that going to an inquiry will be the absolute last spot we go, because we were unable to get answers from the ministers were unable to get answers from the owners, and so on. You know, not that it be now we go and maybe everyone will be scared now, or everyone will be happy to provide all the information, but it would have cost us a whole bunch of hundreds of thousands of guilders as a country. That's it for now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, we've been listening to Member of Parliament Leonard, and she was talking about the fact that the interpellation and the inquiry are the first time we're using them, and kind of wondering why we had to go to such a drastic tool right away. We could have asked the questions and into the Mullet Bay affair, use an interpellation style in investigation to get answers. But we need to point out that the interpellation is for the members of the Council of Ministers, and the inquiry is more like an a legal hearing where you can swear people in, and people who live here, businesses here, business from overseas who do business here, everybody, you can have them give truthful information, and it's more far-reaching because you have remedies to deal with those things. So that makes a difference, and that's why we think the inquiry is most important, because we've been waiting 24 years to have some kind of move on Mullet Bay. And as I said before, thanks to the central bank taking action against the using of the land and jacking up the price to use that collateral, other deals off island, we were made aware of what's happening. It's a good thing now that we move. Anyway, my co-host for Wednesdays in the house, a little late to traffic and other things, but good morning, Mr. Butte.
Yeah, good morning to you, Mr. Jones, and to the viewers and listeners.
Okay, what we want to rehash a bit is, first of all, the interpellation proposal by Member of Parliament Sarah Westcott Williams. It has been so that we have been saying for quite a while that Parliament is basically a toothless tiger. Parliament can't get the ministers to come to Parliament. You invite them, they don't come, they have more important things to do, or they have other schedules, they don't come, first of all. And secondly, when they do come, they just refuse to answer. They choose what they want to answer and what they don't want to answer. The interpellation is a tool where you invite specific ministers, and you send them the questions, and they have to come and give truthful answers on these questions. Do you think it was necessary? Do you think that is the way to proceed?
I don't think that you have to go through to go down the road of interpellation of bringing in ministers. I think ministers should know that our respect, that we have a parliamentary system. The parliament is the highest body in our government legal frame, and they have a duty to the people to inform the people. And if Parliament call you on a subject or information, I don't see why we should be playing hide and seek to pass that information over to Parliament, that Parliament can give it to the people. I don't understand that. And then, you know, we say that we want to grow as a country, but we're acting as kids. Because when the ministers, when any member of Parliament or Parliament call any minister in the Netherlands, they don't hesitate because they respect Parliament, and they go one time, and maybe they could have back and forward discussion in Parliament about the information that being put there to them, but they go there and give their information they have to, because they know that there could be serious consequences for ministers. And I think there we have to go. When ministers don't live up to their work, or they don't live up to the standard that we want them to live up to, there's supposed to be consequences. And I believe that the Parliament is supposed to be not harsh only when it's somebody from the other aisle of Parliament, when their minister is there, but also with your own minister, because then you set not precedents, but you set kind of rules that, listen, you're working for the people, and you have to do the people's work.
And that's the next question I was going to have. It seems like the ministers don't care what faction requests the meeting or which political they just decide they have their little islands unto themselves, and they just choose not to come or not to answer. And it seems that, well, at least from what I've been told, I don't know if that's quite true, that you can't do nothing about it. These people I've seen early in the year, around February, because of this not answering and want to give into Parliament, there was an attempt to pass two motion of non-confidence that didn't pass. But that's ultra drastic. I don't even believe it should go there. You know, I honestly believe that the information that I asked, I used to say this in the Island Council, the information that I asked from the floor is not for me. I can read it. That's how the people gets to know. And that is why it's important that ministers come to Parliament and give the information. It's the people's right to know. And by you giving information, the people get to know what is happening, what's being planned in government, and then people can form their own opinion on what is good or not for the country.
But you know what's the joke and the sad part of that? the same member of parliament who criticizing and saying that, tomorrow his minister he does the same.
Same thing. Exactly.
You know, so that's the sad part about it. They sit at this, the criticizing and having discussion about that today, but tomorrow that same person, member of parliament, is minister, and he or she does the same thing. Come in when they want, say what they want. So it's like a habit. It's a habit that we have created since 10. And I noticed here in St. Martin, I noticed since we became a country within the kingdom, we creating these habits, these bad habits. We creating these bad habits, and we just like kids, we just taking over these habits. And you know, we even have it gone so far that we even know the public is using it as an excuse for not getting this done. Because when you tell them, hey, we have this problem, no, that's not a problem, because in St. Kitts they do it, or in Anguilla the same thing, or in Holland they do the same thing, they corrupt in Holland too, or then this. So we find excuses for everything that is wrong to justify what we are doing wrong. Instead we said, we have to work on this, we have to work on that, we have to get better in this, we have to get better in that, you know.
Look, one of the problems I see with government, and basically all the governments so far, if a minister or ministers need to travel, you have a coalition, the same coalition that a minister belongs to controls parliament. They have the majority, they have the chair of parliament also. So it is, for me, impossible to imagine that they don't know the minister isn't going to be there. The minister of TED have to come to the parliament and speak about airport, and parliament doesn't know he's off island. But you're part of the coalition, why would you not know?
You must know.
You understand? And what is more important, this meeting you have to go to some meetings I think is a nice trip, but nothing comes from it. You have to come to parliament and give answers, and those are the changes that maybe you have to make in the rules of order. Because these things can be happening. Minister can choose not to come to parliament, but goes to something in Germany and stays, and after Germany goes to Holland. I mean, makes it a whole European tour, which is nice. I ain't see the figures coming out of that area yet, but hopefully they're going to come. But for me, it's more important to be here and inform the people what's happening, and it has to do also with parliament. In the days of the Island Council, if a meeting was coming up that had to deal with a portfolio you held, you couldn't leave the island because everybody had to sign for you to leave. So you wasn't leaving the island. And it could be the same thing in the Council of Ministers. If the minister in charge has to leave, unless it's super important, I don't know what will be that important that takes precedent over giving accountability to the parliament, then they wouldn't be able to travel because they need permission from parliament, from the thing to travel. So it's just bad management style. That's all.
You know, I wrote, last week I wrote a piece about this on Facebook, and I said, people keep talking about the STA or STB, St. Martin Tourism Association, St. Martin Tourism Board, what you will call it. They can't decide up to today what kind of board or what, a foundation or what we're going to do. But ministers deliberately don't want the tourism board to be there, because there won't be no more travel no more, because you have a board then who will be doing all the promotion and all the things for government. So that, because this traveling business with the Minister of Tourism, for me, is a stipend business.
The per diem is pretty good, huh?
You understand? And I want for the next, after this new parliament sit down, the government will change that nomination of the Ministry of TED. We have to go now in the phase where we put the Ministry of Economic Development. We have to start developing our economy. We're running way behind. People who are running 20 years behind us now are right there. And as I don't know if you all read the report of the FCCA, and the FCCA said very clearly, not even said the Minister of Tourism of St. Kitts, the FCCA, Michelle Page, said in the next 3 years, St. Kitts will be the top.
I read that opening, they had a conference in St. Kitts,
They said it clearly.
Right now, I spoke about it here, they're number 3 behind us.
Yes.
It is the Virgin Islands, us, and then them.
Yes.
And to just imagine how far they came from, because when
exactly.
they started long after us, and they're almost catching us up right now.
Okay?
So
because it's hard work, it's development, a development. They have 4 resort building right now. 2021, there will be work available between 500 and 800 work opening for job in St. Kitts. You know, and we're not taking these things serious because we don't have the people to sit in that ministry who has the capacity and the knowledge and the team to decide what our plan is for 2030. Where St. Maarten have to be for 2030. And those are the things that is hampering us. And I'm sorry to say it. It's disastrous for the last 10 years that we started out with and the simple show, I always tell people, we started out with a budget over 500 million in 10. Today we have a budget for 460. In a normal country, your budget is supposed to increase because your income have increased. The economy of your country have increased. Your development have increased. It's just opposite with us. And if people don't see that as a reason to say, hey, things are not going well in this country, we really have to start bringing everybody on board for we to develop. Otherwise, we're going to lose the race. We are too comfortable in St. Maarten, sitting down, idling, and sit. That's 737 that landed in Anguilla. I don't understand. For me, especially for my host, Mr. Jones, if I was walking the airport and I see that happen, I tremble in because it shows that all the work, the pioneers, I'm like ELTON Jones and all, they have worked to bring St. Maarten Airport to where it is. To lose that market now, it's like you going out selling whiskey and I selling Hammond and I take over your market in Marigot. Were you selling real Black Label and I selling Hammond and I take over your market? That's what it is. And people are not seeing these things.
We're losing it, and you have to look. St. Maarten has boasted, and rightfully so, of their hub function. And in people, other countries in the Caribbean, adjacent islands, depended on our hub function. But when you have a government that can't take a decision in 2 years, what happens? You can't ask other economies to wait for you to decide. That doesn't happen. It's even unfair to even think that way, because these people have an economy to feed. Also, they have people that depend on them, and they cannot just sit down and wait for St. Maarten who are so indecisive, don't know if they're going left or right with something that is basically the lifeblood of the economy. The airport is the lifeblood of the economy. And what are we doing? 2 years after, we still here working, financing, no financing, from who, what condition, what this. But the interim, nothing is being happened. It was going to happen with the budget. It was going to happen when you sign this, when you sign that. All of those things happen now. We still don't have the finance.
Now it's a comfort. Now the bondholder is asking for a letter now to guarantee, even though legal experts have said no, they have it from the instruction
and the decree.
From the passing of the budget, you have the okay to go ahead and do it. And because government, someone gave them some legal advice telling them that no, they need a legal advice now from Parliament. And Parliament said, and I agree with Parliament, no. I refuse to give it to you because you already have it. What? And my question then go back again in the same thing what you just said. What happened between the day that the budget has passed? Okay. You need 30 days for legislation to pass, blah, 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 that they have to be good in the Gazette. And But in the meantime, what be happening? So you're waiting until the legislation is published in the National Gazette for it become the legislation become legal, then you can, and then you start working. So all the time you sit down there and wait till when that happen? Are we serious? Are we, you know what is hurting me? That we just sit there and see people messing up this country. And we're not messing up this country for us. We are messing up the country for the generation to come. We are giving them a lot of work to fix this country here. Because we messed up. We seriously messed up. And we're messing up. And we're afraid to tell our peers, our friend, our cousin, and who it may be, that You're not doing it. I'm not happy with what you're doing. You're not doing it good. You're messing up. We really have to come together to build this economy. Otherwise, as I said again, we're going to lose the race in the Caribbean.
We are well on our way. And I've been warning for a while now from here that SINT is my greatest competition. I worked at the airport, and I remember when we were dealing with the executive, all the business we turned away when we couldn't find parking in December, they headed to SINT.
Yeah.
And you know what? The following year, they did the same thing. They didn't come back. Business you send away don't come back.
No. And you know, that was the thing I could not understand. Why are we going to send things to SINT and we had another airport on the northern side? And I am not an aviation expert. I don't know the deals that have, or the deals and there were, or if there were any deals. So it would be ignorant for me to say that we skipped the other side. But these are the things that we have to work on. Because when I keep that plane and that crew, even if I go on the French side, that money will flow in some indirectly still to the Dutch side. Because if they don't stay on the French side, they come over and stay on the Dutch side, on the French side. I mean, the money will go. Important is that the money flow in our economy. I don't want it to go over nowhere. I want it to stay right here. So why are we talking always on the 11th of November, always of togetherness and this, and then on the 12th of November, we're going to separate ways again? It's so ironic.
Well, those are the things when we talk in cooperation that we should cooperate in.
You're not cooperating.
Because Grand Cars Airport can take those small executives, and they would have to come up with some parking, but it would be really keeping the business here. Most of those executive jets, they have their yachts and what have you, so they just want to park for the 2 weeks, usually around the 2nd and 3rd of January, everyone's heading out. And we could keep the business here, but when we talk in cooperation, those are the things we should be talking to make sure that these things keep here. But that has never been the case. We have all these nice speeches, and we share a lunch, and then back to the rat race. That's basically what it is.
You're the aviation expert, and I said that's something that had to be done long time. And as you said, when you send that plane to any other port, and they see what a port can offer, they ain't coming back to you. And don't forget, if I'm running business towards you, I'm trying to get your business, I'm going to do everything in the making to do everything good to get your business. Don't forget, from 2014, we're trying to build a FBO. Where it is. Where it is. I will advise anybody, go over and see the FBO of that what SINT have. Go over and see it. When you go in here, you don't want to come out. And we're trying to build one. And we was the place that had all the jets, and everybody used to envy us. Envy us.
We were there. And if it slipped away from us, if it's slipping away from us, it's our own fault.
Yes.
We need to do much more. Let's go to the inquiry. There are a lot of questions. The last thing I heard is that this was on the internet, though, that shouldn't be done now because it costs 520,000 guilders, and that could have put on enough roof. How do you deal with that argument?
It's the most ridiculous argument I ever heard in my life. You know, and these are the things, here's where the persons who, even though they have done a great job, I have to give thumbs up to Mr. Bryson, I will say it anytime. But then you see where organizations or non-governmental organizations should have a report then now showing what the economy of St. Maarten have lost since Malaby is no more there. You know, and then you will when you get these figures in, you will see that 512,000 guilders what it costs. It's peanuts. It's peanuts. And anybody who could do a little math with the employment that Malaby had, the amount of people used to work there, indirect, direct. I mean, this economy was losing, I will say, at least, to be very conservative, $20 million US a year. That was being not pumped in this.
That is
and that was
conservative.
being extremely conservative.
Because they were a larger employer in government
Yes.
at the time.
You know, extremely conservative.
But, you know, I started on the program today. I don't know if you were listening, talking about data, information, the government knowing what is happening out there and being able to plan based on that. We have the Statistics Bureau, but we can't get information. We can't even say today, off the bat, how many people are employed at the casinos. What are the salaries? How much taxes? How much that? So if we look at a thing like Mother Bay, for us to determine the importance of it and the importance of getting it back after 24 years, we have to see what the losses are, the accrued losses.
Yes, yes,
because
yes.
if you do it over the years,
Yes,
you'll
yes.
see we wouldn't be here asking for any liquidity support and craziness.
Yeah, and because it was before 96, it was before 96, those information, you could get it of old,
The Central Statistics Bureau.
yes, but also from old SNV, the old tax office, they would have the information, then you know how much profit tax they paid, how much income tax, how much from SNV, you'll get to know how much AOV they paid over the years. You know, only 1 year you will need, 95, 94. And then you have an estimate already, what could tell you how growth will have been of what. You know, people who saying these things about what they call don't have no idea the economic impact that Muller Bay had on St. Martin economy. No idea.
Members of Parliament, some members of Parliament are saying, look, this is a drastic tool in the Constitution that you use to get information, and they believe we can just send some written questions and get access. But then my point is this, my question will be, 24 years we never send these written questions. Why now that somebody came up with a way of dealing with a problem, we want to send questions? What happened to the 24 years before?
Mr. Jones, who you dealing with? You're dealing with our own people. Let me call a spade a spade. We're dealing with our own black people. Let me be honest. When it comes to these things, the crab mentality kicks in one time. ELTON brought it forward. Anything that have to do with ELTON, let me break it down. We're not looking at the purpose. We're not looking at what it going to bring in the future for the generation to come. It's ELTON bring it. And if ELTON bring it, let me break it down. Let me pull ELTON down and pull ELTON ideas. Our crab mentality that we have. And it's so sad that, you know, I hate to use this word, but it's so sad that after close to 200 years out of slavery, we still carry these habits that we have passed on over and over the generation to come, and then have not cut it off and said, you should not think like that. We have to start as a people, start cutting these ways. I don't want you to think as a young black man like that anybody owe you nothing, that you have to break down your other brothers. No, that you have to work for what you want, that you're not supposed to be with your hands out waiting for somebody to give you something. You have to start cutting these ways.
I think some of it has to do with when we were emancipated, they successfully took the shackles from our arms and feet,
but not our money.
The one on our brain is still there. I don't know how you just unshackle that. I guess we.
No, and I agree with you. What we said, they have not, but that's a responsibility, individual responsibility, as us, as head of families, a father to become. That we're supposed to do that over, because you're supposed to do it to your son. My father did it with us. Make sure nobody don't owe you nothing. Don't walk around think anybody owe you. He used to tell us that. Don't think you're what do you say? And not invincible. That you'll be miss on your job. What is the right word for that? He always used to tell us indispensable. Don't even think you're indispensable. Tomorrow morning, you die today, tomorrow morning have somebody in your place. Those are the things you have to put in your brains and your kids for them to know. Do what you have to do, work hard, and get what you have to do. But don't think anybody owe you nothing. Nobody don't owe you nothing in life.
We had an instructor from England, Mr. Brown, at the traffic control school. He used to say, you have to do your job that good that if you fall down dead, somebody step over you and continue the job. Because the airplanes ain't going to stop flying. The job ain't going to stop.
No.
You just get out.
Yeah.
So you can't do your job. You're indispensable, because if you're not around tomorrow, the show goes on.
Yes.
The show must go on.
Yes.
That's the way you look at things.
Yes.
I think, though, that it is, besides the arguments of the road, the public road that they think is a private road, is their road, the beaches, all those things, it is hard that so many people in St. Maarten have lost jobs, have suffered because of it, but the entire economy of St. Maarten has taken a hit that we weren't able to refurbish up to now. So I think it's very important. I think you should use the most drastic tools available to you, because nobody has been doing anything in the last 24 years.
And that's why it's so important that hosts like you bring these things forward, educate the people, let them go back down the memory lane. I think what people should do, read the inquiry that we had of the Sabre coin. You remember the Sabre?
Yeah.
Yeah. When Minister De Castro was Minister of Finance then. Read those things. You just go back in history, read, and then you have an understanding what all this process is, because we have done it already in the Netherlands and Antilles once or twice. So just go and read, educate yourself, and don't let no parliamentarian who trying to stop something or trying to say, oh yes, I'm agree with it, but I don't know if you noticed that question of yes, I will support it, but no, you have to support this. This is important for St. Maarten. This is important for St. Maarten.
Okay, we needed to look at another thing, but we're running out of time. I have a question for you. How is the SDM going? You're in the election or you're not?
No, SDM is not running, but I leave that forward for the party leader officially. But nah.
So what is this tobacco gang going to do? I see one of you already pick a candidate. I saw it on Facebook.
Oh, but you know that he boy, you know, so you know that he boy, so and you know, you have to know our great friend, you know, but that he boy.
All right, so there are two parties out. Anyway, radio listeners, TV viewers, follow us on Facebook and others. We want to thank you for following the program this morning. We hope you were able to gather some information from it. We'd like to talk to you again tomorrow, God's willing. You have a good day further. Goodbye.